the city moved fast, like it always did. Cars honked impatiently, people hurried across the sidewalks with coffees in hand, and the noise of everyday life drowned out the whispers of those society tried not to see. On the corner of 8th and Main, slumped against a worn-out brick wall, sat a man most people avoided eye contact with. His clothes were faded, his shoes torn at the seams, and his face carried the tired lines of someone who had seen far too much. His name was James Parker. To the strangers who passed him, he was just another homeless man with an old cardboard sign and empty eyes. But James wasn't always invisible. Once upon a time, his name had been written on billboards, his music echoing across grand theaters, and his hands, those same hands now trembling with cold, had danced across piano keys like they were born to do so. But life had a way of tearing even the strongest down. That morning, James clutched his cardboard sign tighter. In shaky letters it read, "Can I play it for food?" People glanced, some chuckled, others muttered cruel jokes under their breath. One teenager even snickered to his friends, "Play what?" "A trash can," and they all laughed as they walked away. James lowered his head, swallowing the sting. He had grown used to the ridicule. It wasn't the first time he'd been mocked for asking to play, and it likely wouldn't be the last. But deep down, his heart ached for a chance, just one, to prove that behind the dirt, the beard, and the ragged clothes, there was still music. There was still James Parker, the pianist once hailed as the man who could make ivory cry. James hadn't always been on the streets. Years ago, he served as a soldier, carrying more than just his uniform, he carried scars. The war had left him wounded in ways no doctor could fully heal. PTSD haunted his nights, and when he returned home, the world felt foreign. Music had once been his refuge, but after the army, everything changed. His wife left when the nightmares grew too heavy, jobs slipped through his fingers, and the piano he loved was eventually sold just to pay for food. Slowly, the world watched him fade, and no one reached out a hand to stop his fall. But inside, his love for music never died. It only slept, waiting for a chance to wake again. On that cold afternoon, the universe decided to test him. A group of college students, laughing and sipping lattes, spotted him. One of them, a young man with slick hair and a mocking grin, pointed to James's sign. "Hey old man," he sneered, "you said you can play for food. There's a piano in that cafe over there. Why don't you show us what you got? Unless you're lying." The others laughed. It was entertainment to them, another way to make a spectacle out of someone else's pain. James hesitated. His pride wanted him to refuse, but his hunger gnawed at him harder than his dignity did. He whispered, "If they let me, I'll play." The group shoved the cafe door open and asked the manager, half-jokingly, to let the homeless man play. The manager, tired of their noise, sighed and agreed, "Fine. If it gets you kids to buy another round of coffee, go ahead. But if he breaks it, you're paying." They dragged James inside, and for the first time in years, his eyes fell on a polished upright piano tucked in the corner. It looked like heaven itself. His heart raced, his fingers twitched, and suddenly, the room around him blurred. The college kids pulled out their phones, ready to record his humiliation. But humiliation was not what they captured. When James placed his fingers on the keys, it was as though the years melted away. The cafe grew silent as the first notes poured out, soft, soulful, and aching with beauty. His touch was delicate yet commanding, weaving together melodies that told stories words could never hold. He played not for applause, not for fame, but from the deepest well of his soul. The laughter died instantly. People stopped mid-sentence, mid-sip, mid-step. Every head turned toward the corner where a man who moments ago was just a beggar became something else entirely, a maestro, a storyteller, a man who could breathe life into silence. One woman near the window began to cry. Another whispered, "My God, who is he?" James played on, closing his eyes, remembering the grand stages, the orchestra behind him, the thunderous applause. But more than that, he remembered himself, the men before the war, before the pain, before the streets. For those few minutes, he was whole again. When the final note lingered and fell into silence, the cafe erupted in applause. The same young man who had mocked him stood frozen, his smirk replaced with awe. Someone whispered, "That's James Parker. I saw him on TV years ago. He's a legend." News traveled fast. Within hours, the video of the homeless veteran pianist went viral online. Millions watched in disbelief as a man the world had abandoned revealed talent that could rival the greats. Offers began pouring in, pianos donated, invitations to play again, messages of support from people who remembered his glory days. But the journey wasn't just about the music. James still carried his scars, his trauma, his brokenness. For years he had been unseen, unheard. Now, with the world watching, he faced a choice. Would he rise again, or would he let the applause fade as quickly as it came? It wasn't easy. Rehabilitation took time. Nights were still long, and demons still whispered. But with the help of a community that finally chose to see him as more than homeless, James slowly rebuilt. A retired music teacher donated him lessons to ease back into practice. A local veterans organization offered housing. And the cafe that gave him a chance. They hired him to perform weekly. James found purpose again. He began using his gift not just to entertain, but to inspire. He visited shelters, playing for those who felt forgotten, reminding them that no one's story is over. He spoke to young veterans, encouraging them to seek help, to believe that life after war could still hold beauty. And one evening, as he sat before a packed concert hall, dressed in a simple suit donated by strangers, he looked out at the crowd. Tears filled his eyes, not for the applause, but for the fact that the same world that once laughed at him now listened. Truly listened. James Parker's story is more than music. It's about resilience, about the dangers of judging what we see on the surface, and about the power of kindness. A man who was ridiculed with the words, "Can I play it for food?" had reminded the world that talent, dignity, and humanity never disappear, they only wait to be rediscovered. So next time you see someone on the streets, don't just look away. You never know what story, what talent, what pain, or what greatness might be hidden behind tired eyes. Folded hands. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe everyone deserves a second chance? Have you ever witnessed hidden talent in unexpected places? I'd love to hear your stories. And remember, on this channel, be kind always, because kindness has the power to change lives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to inspire others.